r/AskReddit. What is the funniest shit you've ever seen? This kid was bugging my friend, so she lunged at him like she was going to attack him. He turned to run and ran face first into a pole. She started laughing and turned to run away because the teachers were headed our way and ran face first into another pole. Both ended up in the nurse's office with matching bloody noses, and I laughed so hard I had an asthma attack. That's some straight Looney Tunes type shit. We were bringing lunch to the teachers at school and my daughter announced that we made a special soup for Mr. S because he's a virgin. Mr. S is a vegan. This drunk dude at a bar was telling a group of us that there was a guy sitting in a chair outside staring him down. Our friend had poor eyesight, and it didn't help that he was piss drunk, but he was absolutely convinced that the guy outside wanted to fight him. We looked outside onto the patio area, and sure enough, there was a guy in a chair with an evil look on his face, facing the window to the bar. I should also add that this was close to Halloween, and the guy sitting in the chair was a stuffed scarecrow with a pumpkin for a head, with a mean face drawn on it. We almost let our friend loose on the thing, but it was ducking hilarious watching him rant how he's going to ducking kill the guy, and to watch his back because the scarecrow probably had friends with him. I was a Walgreens cashier in an extremely religious neighborhood full of rich old Baptists. One day a woman comes in to buy cigarettes and is something like $3 short. She starts digging around in her giant Mary Poppins bag, holding up the line, wastes a good 5 minutes on it before she dumps the entire thing out on my counter. There, in the detritus of a middle-aged housewife's bag, was a crumpled up $10 bill. She yells hallelujah, the Lord is looking out for me, and hands me the folded up bill. I unfold it, and it's one of those fake tens people give waiters as tips. The ones with the Bible quotes on the inside. Me. God wants you to quit smoking. I was walking through downtown when there was a Segway tour going on across the street. One of the people in the Segway tour lost control and slammed into a pole. I still laugh uncontrollably when I think about it. There's a brewery in my neighborhood. It's one of those cool places where people bring their dogs and their kids. Funniest shit I've ever seen was a 7 or 8-year-old girl playing Battleship against the bartender, but with no ships down. B3. Miss. Damn it. Again. My best friend used to fight in karate tournaments and was actually pretty good. One time there was no one in his age belt class to fight, so he was invited to fight in an exhibition fight with another kid who didn't have anyone to fight. Well, they were wearing headgear so you couldn't really make out their facial features very well, so my friend didn't realize that he was fighting against a kid with Down syndrome. He beat the ever-loving shit out of this poor kid. The whole time people were telling him to take it easy and giving him dirty looks and shit, and he just kept on obliviously beating that kid's ass. To this day he's still known as the guy who relentlessly beat up a disabled kid. He will never live it down as long as I'm alive. In grade 8 gym class, a kid clotheslined himself with a volleyball net. He ran face first into it and his legs went flying out from underneath him. It was like a ducking cartoon. I was lucky enough to watch Kung Pao enter the fist at the perfect age of 12 at a sleepover. Watching it back now as an adult and it's just insanely stupid. But for 3 12-year-old boys it was the most hilarious thing I'd ever seen. Never laughed harder. A guy was sprinting down the hall in college, obviously in a hurry. Well, there was a floor mat right before the stairs at the end of the hall. The mat slipped as soon as he ran on it, so he lost his balance, but because he has momentum he kept on running up the stairs, trying to catch himself. Somehow he recovered and just ran out of the building. I could not handle it. I can never find it, but there's a green text about this redneck who scared off a bunch of teenagers while naked and screaming "Duck me." At work in the lab one day, a senior co-worker is up on a ladder and tries to pull a 60 pounds power supply unit that cost $70,000 out of the rack we were repairing. Thing falls 7 feet, annihilates a table and another $35k worth of equipment and slams on the floor. Co-worker looks down from his perch and says, "Cha-cha real smooth," and goes back to work. I ducking lost it. I work for a multi-billion-dollar defense company that had about 50 replacements in the back room. No big deal, but his absolute do not give a duck response nailed me. One of the funniest, not the funniest, but certainly top 10 Circa 2004/2005, principal of our middle school became fed up with the circle game kids were playing. Game where you make a circle with your fingers and hold it below your waist, so if you convince someone to look at it you get punched. Principal holds up his fingers in the exact position as the circle game and yells at the entire cafeteria. You see this? This is not okay. Random student. Mr. Redacted. Does this mean you're going to punch all of us? Room goes silent. That Russian road rage video where a guy was screaming at a van. Then the people in the van dressing as cartoon characters went to beat him. We had a power outage at work, so they decided to send us home early. The daughter of the firm's president was your stereotypical spoiled rich girl, and was probably a size 10 but was squeezing her ass into size 8 pants because she couldn't accept she wasn't a single digit size. She got excited about going home and did a high kick. Her pants split from her knee all the way up the back of her ass with the most cartoonish rip. The look of shock and embarrassment on her face was worth the price of admission. I was laughing so hard I fell on the floor. My abs hurt the following 2 days. Once, during college, a group of us saw two blind people walk into each other, and one bounced off and landed in a trash can. Obviously, this was a shock to both, and the trash can blind person shouted, "What are you, blind?" Which was met with a very apologetic, "Yes, I will never laugh that hard again." Hell, I'm laughing at it again now just typing this. There was a shop in London which sold the cloud ice creams with a circle of candy floss around the cone. It was real Instagram bait when it first opened. Think it might be closed now. I wanted to walk my boyfriend past it to show him the cues and what the ice creams looked like. As soon as we turned the corner, we saw a girl coming out ice cream in hand with her phone in position to get the perfect IG shot. As soon as she stepped over the doorway, the ball of ice cream fell on the floor and she was left with just a cone and candy floss. The sound it made was such a cartoon splat. Neither of us could believe it. It was just perfect timing with the perfect sound effect. Sounds a bit mean-spirited, but I can still hear the sound so clearly in my head and it makes me laugh every time. Edit. Typo. My friend was high and on the phone, but needed to write something down, so he started looking for his phone. It was because of me actually. 7 years ago I was at a friend's apartment for a Bible study group. At one point a guy was praying over a girl. Everyone was completely silent while they were praying. Then out of nowhere, I farted loudly. I tried my hardest to hold it in but I just couldn't. All eyes immediately were on me. Nobody in that apartment could stop laughing for about 20 minutes. So, I was selling popcorn for Boy Scouts while in a store, and this little, maybe 4-year-old girl runs at the sliding doors, screaming about having a magical power that opens the doors. Too long didn't read. The door didn't detect her. Guy making burgers on a grill in the back of a moving pickup truck while holding a beer in the other hand. I was desperate for cash in my late teens, so I took a 12-hour shift in a banana packing factory. I ended up working on a conveyor belt, picking the good nanas, throwing away the bad ones. You get the gist. About halfway through the most soul-sucking, mind-ducking, monotonous working day of my life, I witness a man carrying a box of bananas slipping on an escaped banana on the floor, throwing the whole box of lovely yellow fruit into the air and crashing epically into a 6-foot stack of banana boxes. Naturally, I buckled like a broken stool, rolling around the factory floor pissing my sides. When I managed to compose myself, I realized that no one else had laughed, nor even so much as looked up from the hypnotic conveyor belt. I decided factories weren't for me and went back to the books. In 7th grade, this kid sitting at my lunch table got hit in the eye with a pork chop. He immediately fell to the ground. It was the funniest shit I have ever seen in my lifetime. Gallivant is a medieval musical comedy. In one episode there are some characters reuniting, but in the background, King Richard is fighting a bunch of children, like 10-year-old children. There's a 5-10 second scene that where Richard full on decks a child while his companion goes, "Richard, they're children." I've watched that 5-10 second clip dozens of times. Can't find a video of that scene, so here's Tad Cooper. Mortar round hits our compound. Doc comes running out of the shitter stall fumbling to get his pants up and buttoned as he's panicking. My sides hurt that day. In elementary school for our PE class we had bowling pins as the flag in Capture the Flag. This kid that I wasn't too fond of was on the other team when we were playing it one day in class. He grabbed a bowling pin from my team and was quickly tagged out, and out of a rage of fury he threw up the bowling pin super high up into the air, easily 50 featuring up. He proceeded to sit down and pout about being out, and in slow motion the bowling pin started going back down and straight up thumping this poor kid in the head. He obviously started crying cause that shit probably hurt like hell, but it still gives me a good chuckle a decade later. I work late nights at an on-campus bakery at my college, and it was the last night before winter break. Since there wasn't a whole lot to do, we were just goofing off and being dumbasses, along with our manager. Our bakery is located inside of another building, and there's a gigantic window where people inside the building can see into our bakery. We were tossing around stale donuts, and as soon as this one guy walked by the window, my co-worker chucks a donut at the window as hard as he can, and this guy jumps straight in the air, looks around, then finally realizes what happened. He just sort of stares at us, stunned, while we waved. I think I almost pissed myself after he walked away. When I was in college I saw a monkey, langur, dangling its tail down a bolster and a dog trying to bite it, but whenever the dog came close to bite it the monkey lifted its tail in air, leaving the dog baffled and angry. It went on for several minutes. It was hilarious. A few years ago, my entire extended family went to spread my grandmother's ashes at the beach, and when we waded in about knee deep, my brother threw the ashes into the air instead of tipping them into the water. He got smacked with a face full of grandma, started crying, and then had to dive into a wave fully clothed to get her off of him. He was 30 years old. It must have been 10 seconds in total, but I, a grown woman, peed myself laughing and did a fantastic send-off for her. My little sister has a terrible adoptive mother. I hate the beach. She loves abusing my sister on a level that if the purge happened IRL, I'm foregoing safety for vengeance. Unfortunately, the beach thinks that because she is my sister's adoptive mother, she has some role of power over me as well. We decided on a sister's day out to the zoo. The beach decided to butt in on the trip. The beach kept demanding we take pictures of her in front of the animal enclosures, and demanded the same in front of where the hippos were. There were signs all over warning about what was going to happen. This was her own damn fault. One of the hippos blew shit and helicopter chopped with its tail caca out all over the back of the beach. It was like a runny chunky caca potato bazooka went off. I could not stop ducking laughing. My little sister could not stop. The other people around were laughing too, and the beach was in full Karen wee mode. FLMAO. Sigh. Best visit to the zoo ever. Posting for my mom. Unfortunately I didn't exist yet when this happened, so my aunt, mom's sister, is an incredibly awful person. She has a voice like Ricky's mom in Better Off Dead, was horribly spoiled by her grandparents, first girl born in 4 generations, and just vindictively mean. She's the kind of person who goes well out of her way to demean people and convince people everyone hates you. She's also 5 feet 2 inches and over 300 pounds. One day at a family gathering, she goes to sit on a wicker chair. The chair disintegrates under her. She then, while still on the floor, angrily looks at her mother, owner of the once chair, and yells, "What the hell is wrong with your chair?" My mom had to run out of the room. She was laughing, crying so hard. One time in 5th grade we had a discussion about the human body, and we got to the point how to pronounce the word penis. We all did good, except this one kid, Daniel. He tried to say it, but ended up saying pumpis. Me and my friends were laughing so hard I almost peed myself. To this day, me and my friends still laugh at that moment, lol. Probably only funny to me in the moment, but to this day one of the funniest things I've ever seen. When I was a kid, we had a cat named Pepper. Pepper was in the front yard, hiding in a bush and darting her paw out at my dad, who was jumping back and forth around the bush, playing with her. Little did he know, our neighbor was standing across the street, staring at him. Neighbor clearly could not see the cat and probably thought my dad had lost his mind. The dramatic irony of the situation hit me all at once and had me in stitches. Dad is inexplicably dancing around a bush. Neighbor is puzzled. The image still gets me to this day. My friend had a PC game based on the Phantom Menace and we took turns playing it. I immediately decided to test whether I could attack the guards. I could. Another guard yelled at me and I took off running around a corner. I was running past a group of kids and one of them tried to talk shit about me being in trouble. But I swung my lightsaber and killed him mid-sentence. So he went, "Hey mister, you're in big trouble," and I laughed so long that I was afraid I'd die. Probably the video of this young guy singing some R&B song and it's like he suddenly hits puberty because his voice changes. He looks horrified and starts yelling for his mom. I laughed so hard I couldn't breathe. So I sounded like I had a slow air leak. Wish I could find it again. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.